Hey everybody, Tony D with a hot take on the Joe Biden Me Too thing. So Biden has been accused by this woman, Tara Reid, for those of you who don't know, but it was an incident that took place about 30 years ago. She used to work for the campaign. He may have, rubbed himself up against her and rubbed her, and, basically it got pretty gropey, according to the complaint. She didn't file a complaint at the time. She decided she wanted to protect him. Uh, Subsequently now, she's suddenly come out of the woodwork to accuse him. Now, do I think it happened? Probably. I think it's probable that he did something to her and was a jerk to her in some way. And I say that because there's all this video of him acting weird and creepy around little girls. And I've heard stories about him, acting arrogant and weird. And he's not one of these guys where people say, "Oh, he's a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy." I don't see that as the stories behind the scenes. It's funny because Johnny Depp, who got accused of spousal abuse because his ex accused him, he was so nice. She hired a private detective to find dirt on Johnny, and he literally couldn't find anything. And then ended up testifying on Johnny's behalf, I believe, because he's just such a nice guy. It turns out he's just a really nice guy, and I've heard that about him. He's gone to, he's done tons of charity events, gone to children's hospitals as dressed as Jack Sparrow to be nice to little kids and everything. So you kind of know who you're dealing with. And I think with Joe Biden, we kind of know. He had a reputation for, as vice president, he had a Secret Service security detail, and he'd insist on swimming naked with a female Secret Service person around. And it's kind of not cool. It's not cool at all. Look, if the guy wants to swim naked, okay, then, make arrangements. That's all I'm saying. Like, say, listen, female secret security agent, I'm just going to go swimming. I like to swim naked. I know it's weird. Please don't be offended or anything. Like, that's what I would say if I had to swim naked for some reason. I don't know why he couldn't put on a bathing suit, but I think that's ridiculous. But so you get the sense that, yeah, maybe these charges aren't too off, but it's 30 years ago. It's obviously politically motivated. But here's the problem. I think this would be mostly ignored if the people on the Democratic side hadn't used Me Too to beat Kavanaugh over the head, and a few other people, including some of their own party members, like Al Franken, who I think got railroaded. I think Al Franken was an entertainer. He was a comedian. He did all kinds of crazy, vulgar stuff back in the day, I'm sure, that we do not know about. And, some woman who, dare I say, her career's probably not going that great. She comes out of the woodwork to gain a ton of attention and say, "Oh, yeah, he grabbed my boobs," or whatever. Come on, is that national news? I don't think it is. I don't think it's a problem. And look, was Al Franken kind of a rude boy? I could see that. But I don't think he's anywhere comparable to, say, Harvey Weinstein. I mean, Harvey Weinstein, he did some really, from what I understand, some really hardcore stuff that he deserves to be in prison. Maybe Kevin Spacey's in that category too, but not a Louis C.K. Even. I mean, Al Franken, from what I've heard, his incidents don't even rise to the level of a Louis C.K. Now, maybe there's more details that I don't know about. Maybe. And maybe at the end of the day, it's hard to find someone who's ruthless enough to become a senator who also doesn't have something in their past that makes them kind of a jerk. especially when it comes to women, because you got to understand politicians are very ambitious people. And ambitious people, I think, when they date, they're ambitious in their dates too. And they're going to be ruthless. And that's part of their attraction. That's part of their charisma. I'm not excusing it. I'm saying that's part of the deal. And it's not just one or two guys, it's most of them. And I would say that's true for the women as well. It's just that the women have more of an out and more of a way to hide that kind of behavior, I believe. And they also have different kinds of shitty behavior too. But all that being said, this is a political battle, and because the left has elevated this to, well, if anybody's accused, you have to believe women. Now they're screwed. Now their credibility shot. Either they all have to come out as hypocrites, who I think Alyssa Milano has come out as one of these hypocrites. Well, now it's okay. Now we need proof. Now we need a court hearing. Now slow down. Oh, with Kavanaugh, no, step on the gas. No. With Joe Biden, I think we can afford to have a trial and an investigation and maybe think about this. No, what we need in this country is what we've always needed. We need a good judicial system, and our judicial system is totally effed. All right, our judicial system is burdened down with things like drugs and prostitution and domestic cases that probably don't rise to the level of crime, and I include divorce in that because, I went through a divorce, and God, what a waste of time. And you had to go in front of a court and a judge, and even my divorce, which I'm not complaining about, it was quickly done and didn't cost me a lot of money, and I'm not going to go into the details, but it felt like a tremendous waste of the court's time. So I think we need to rethink the judicial system, not rethink it, but I think we need to streamline the judicial system and stop bringing every problem we have. Oh, we need a law for this. I have a problem. Make a law to make it go away. Like that's the problem with the court system. We've overburdened the court system with these petty complaints. So when people who have real problems can't get any justice because they just look at the court system and go, well, what am I going to do? Spend thousands of dollars trying to get justice? It doesn't make any sense. Or even if they're accused of a crime, well, you didn't really do it, but what are you going to do? Spend thousands of dollars trying to fight it? You might as well just plead guilty and pay the fine. That's the problem with the court system. So the solution, in my view, is to unclog the court system by streamlining the laws and let people sort out their own business until they start throwing punches and really hurt somebody. So, it is what it is. That means you're going to have to tolerate quite a bit of bad behavior from other people. You might have to tolerate your neighbor doing drugs and having prostitutes over. But I think that would be better in the long run, because even though you would have people engaging in that sort of wild behavior, when they cross the line, of like hurting someone or damaging your property, you could then call the cops, and the cops wouldn't be overburdened, so they would be happy to come in and arrest somebody, and you would get the justice you would need quickly and more efficiently, when you needed it, when you really needed it, when it was so bad that you finally had to call the cops. And as a libertarian, the idea of me calling the cops is like, ugh, what a nightmare. I would never call the cops unless it was an absolute last resort. Like I'm locked in my house and I've got armed gunmen trying to storm in. I have no choice at that point. I guess I got to call the cops. But beyond that, I'm just going to try to run or whatever. Because when you call the cops, it gets very dicey. And that's partly because of our system. But with regards to the political ramifications, the Democrats have screwed the pooch. There's nothing else to do. Your choices are simple. Throw Biden under the bus, which means two things. You have to get a new candidate, which H.A. Goodman says is going to be Hillary Clinton. Sounding more and more possible every day. Or Bernie, who, by the way, isn't out yet. He could very well be the nominee if Joe Biden just steps away and says, forget it, I'm out. Or you have to finally step up and say, you know what? We were wrong about this Me Too stuff. We went too far. We apologized to Judge Kavanaugh. We're calling off the dogs. We're not going to do this again. From now on, here are the limits. You need proof. You need a complaint. You need to, we're going to support women, but we want evidence to back this claim. We want something that makes sense before we're going to entertain this nonsense. Or before, I shouldn't say nonsense, before we entertain this factor in our thinking, we need proof. And you have to go through the system, and if it's too late, it's too late. We have to abandon it, regardless of whether it happened or not, and look to other things if you have a problem with Biden. And look, Biden has way more problems than this. I mean, forget about the Me Too thing. He's just too old to do this. No one thinks he's going to last to a second term. I don't think he could campaign. I really don't. I think a month on the road of campaigning, and that's going to happen, by the way. By the end of the summer, mark my words, these guys are going to be in full campaign mode. Yeah, you're going to wear a mask, and there's going to be social distancing, maybe. Or maybe there's going to be some elaborate disinfectant thing that they're going to set up. They're going to set up in a stadium for Trump. This is what I imagine. He's just going to spend the money because he's got it. So it'll be this corridor which sprays you down with some sort of light disinfectant. So you're not, and then you're going to get tested or zapped. Maybe by that point we'll have some sort of test that'll be foolproof and happen within minutes. So Trump's people will show up hours ahead of time to get tested, and then everybody will be virus free when they go into his rally, and then it'll be like, okay, we've tested everybody. Everybody's wearing everybody's wearing a mask and social distancing, whatever. They'll do something, and they'll have rallies. Same thing with Biden. But see, Biden doesn't have that kind of money. The Democrats are broke. So, I don't know where they're going to get the money to do that. But that may not be a problem for Biden because his rallies are so much smaller than Trump's. So maybe they'll stage a few of them and actually spend the money. But I think, they'll continue to do small events and push for that because that works in Biden's favor anyway. The further, the more Biden can be removed from his audience, since he's, screwed the pooch so many times already, the better for the Democrats. But even so, I don't think Biden has the energy to do that every day for months and live. I think he'll die. So imagine that the guy dies, in the last week of the campaign. I mean, it would be an absolute disaster. At least Bernie, he's up there too. He's older. At least Bernie seems like he's together. But the same problem with Bernie. They need a younger candidate. They just need one. And whoever he picks as VP, that's who you really be voting for. So, if it's Michelle Obama, that would be popular amongst the Dems, and they would all rise up and say, oh, we got a chance now. Michelle Obama doesn't have any experience. As much as I didn't like Hillary Clinton, at least she had experience. She was a senator. She was a total carpetbagger, came in and, moved to New York just to take over the Senate seat. But to say Michelle Obama is qualified to be the president of the United States, I'm not saying she's not a nice person. She's very likable. But she's woefully unqualified to be the president of the United States. She hasn't been a politician in anything. She hasn't run anything other than her family. That's not a qualification. Trump at least ran New York real estate and Atlantic City real estate. That's something. And turns out it's pretty good qualifications. At least in terms of running the economy. Michelle Obama, there's no way. There's no way she's qualified. There's no way you can argue she's qualified. She's just not. She's just not qualified to be president. As compared to Trump, no way. Not even in Trump in 2016. Trump was more qualified in 2016. Now Trump has a whole 4 years under his belt. There's no way. No way. So it's got to be one of the other female senators or Hillary Clinton, who are at least somewhat qualified. They at least kind of know the lay of the land. I mean, look, there's all sorts of little tiny rules that presidents have to get used to. It's not as cut and dry as what you heard on Schoolhouse Rock. There are all these crazy rules about who meets with who, and there's all this, political intrigue behind the scenes that you got to get used to. Who's talking about who? Which party, realistically is in charge at what time? I mean, all that stuff's a huge factor. You can't go in there completely naive. You can't. You got to get the lay of the land. It doesn't matter what job you're taking. You got to get the lay of the land. And that process, Michelle Obama's not stupid. Eventually she'd get spun up, but it's going to take her years. It'll take her 2 years to get spun up, as opposed to someone like, say, Amy Klobuchar. She at least, she'd be spun up in a month. In a month. No problem. Because she's already been in that situation. Michelle Obama, as the first lady, not the same situation. She might have a little bit of knowledge, but not enough to know this and that. This is essentially a re-election of Obama if that happens, and then Obama's going to be in the White House advising her. No, he's not going to be advising her. He'll be running the show because he's going to say, no, Michelle, don't talk to that guy. or yes, Michelle, you got to vote for that. I mean, why wouldn't he be? He was president for 8 years. Of course he's going to sit in there and give her advice, and he'll basically be running the show until she gets confident enough to go, oh, okay. No, I got it now. You go home with the kids. I'm okay now. That could take 2 years. You can't have somebody run the country that way. You can't have somebody learn it. Even if Barack Obama wasn't all that spun up, he'd only been a senator for months, not even years. So he's probably a bad example as a president to learn from, because part of his, well, I don't want to get into his whole style, but it's just not, no, you can't have Michelle Obama. Any of the other senators, even Kamala Harris, who's just will be a disaster, would be a better choice than Michelle Obama. At this point, I think if he picks any, I think there's a good chance it could be Hillary Clinton. I really do now. I'm starting to believe. I'm starting to believe H.A. Goodman. So help me. So, but the bottom line is this MeToo stuff is destroying the Democratic Party, and you can pick all the women you want. It's not going to change the fact that Joe Biden shouldn't even be on the ticket. He's not with it. Okay, so you're going to perform this bait and switch. It can't work. Either Biden has to go and you nominate somebody completely different, or just lose. Just lose, I guess.